The meeting will come to order. Ms. Gore, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Benjamin.
Present.
Ms. Fletcher.
Present.
Mr. Lamar.
Present.
Dr. Viox.
Present.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
At this time, we'll stand for the pledge of the flag and remain for a moment of silence. Mr. Pickler, will you lead us in the pledge of the flag, please? Thank you. Ms. Gore informed me that she's got a new program here, and I've got to kind of not go too fast so she can, I guess, take a note of what we're doing here. So I'm getting too fast, just tell me. Okay. Okay. At this time, we'll have citizens' comments. This is not a question and answer period. I assure you we're all listening to your comments. There are no personal attacks during these comments. We'll let you get wrapped up your conversation to us in about 2 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record. This time I'm open for comments. Please come to the podium. Seeing none, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the August 27, 2019 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Reports. The first report is the chairman's report. I have 3 items on the agenda. I was at a Kiwanis Club meeting a couple of months ago, and there were comments bragging about the Arlington High School students who had helped with the summer lunch box program that the Kiwanis do every summer, and that involves children in this neighborhood who don't have summer meals. So kudos to I think one group was the cheerleader. I never did get the second item. The second item I have is thank for all of you who contributed to the 5K Golden Star Run. It will be September the 7th, Arlington Elementary School, and this board is a gold sponsor. Congratulations to all of us for being a gold sponsor. I don't know, Ms. Mason's run in the past. I'm not sure she will, but yeah, I'm the timekeeper, so if you need to talk to me about your time, I'm willing to talk to you about it. The third item is Ms. Mason and I have decided to have a board retreat sometime in November. That concludes the chairman's report, and at this time, the superintendent's report. Ms. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few items to update the board on. Wanted to let the board know where we are in our enrollment for this school year. Today we did our 11th day enrollment. We are at 101.5% of our projection, so a little bit over. I think that amounts to about 70 students over. Total enrollment, including K-12 SPED and our preschool kids, is 4,812. We did have to add 2 kindergarten teachers. We were able to add 1 to AES prior to school starting, and the second one we added to Donaldson during the first week of school. Both of those teachers have been hired. And looking at the breakdown, I know as we're looking at the breakdown between with Lakeland going to build a high school, one of the questions I often get is how many Arlington kids, how many Lakeland kids. As of our enrollment from 8/22, 54.23% was Arlington kids. That amounts to 1,141 live in the city limits of Arlington. 32.5% are Lakeland residents, which equates to 684 students. And then the rest, which is a little over 13%, are non-residents, those that apply to come in throughout Shelby County and also surrounding districts. It's 279 students for a total enrollment at Arlington High School of 2,104. Current enrollment at AMS is 981. AES 826 plus 17 preschool, and Donaldson 886 plus 30 preschool. We are, I'm talking with Mr. Mayo today, we are fully staffed with the exception of a part-time nutrition tech at Arlington High School. I hope you were able to see, I don't know, Mr. Overby, if you want to put those up, some of the pictures we had rolling. We are looking at our final fire inspection for the middle school gym Thursday afternoon that we're hoping to get permanent occupancy on. Well, he's gonna roll. We have some pictures of what the gym looks like. The floor is just now, has been cured and people are starting to walk on it. Today when we were there for a meeting, people still didn't feel comfortable walking on it with their shoes on, so people were going barefooted on it. But we are hoping that if that inspection, is approved, the volleyball team will be able to get in on Monday and start practicing and have their first match on it next Thursday. That's been a long time coming. This has certainly been a labor of love, I will tell you. Also, we are, as we finish this project, we are working on preparing and finalizing the construction documents for the new indoor athletic facility. We are hoping to have those in our office, hopefully within the next week for Ms. Spickman to view, and then we will be hopefully getting those out. Hopefully, we can have this project up off the ground after the construction documents are finalized, with identifying a construction company, hopefully within the next month is what we're hoping. I do want, if Mr. Hill is here, you all have seen, hopefully you've had the opportunity to access our new district app. And so I've asked him to come up and just preview that and then to show you some of the highlights of that and then let you know to date, the amount of people that it is reaching. Mr. Hill?
Thank you. I'm just going to try to pull up this. I'm going to give you a demo of the app. Russell, on never mind. Okay, good evening, board members. So tonight I'm excited to give you a demo of the app. You'll recall that in our strategic plan, it called for the development of a district-wide mobile app. You may remember, though, that was for the year 2022 for that to launch. But over the summer, we had to upgrade our Blackboard mass notification system anyway. And you may know that's how we reach parents during severe weather events, to let them know about registration nights, any kind of big picture thing. We use Blackboard to notify our parents. And so we thought, well, while we're upgrading that system, let's just go ahead and tack on the app. And let's go ahead and get this thing rolling and not wait until the year 2022. So we launched that. We launched the app at enrollment verification night, and that was 3 weeks ago. And I'm happy to say in the 3 weeks, we have 2,700 downloads of the app. And so that means 2,700 people have downloaded the app and they're walking around with it on their smartphone. Now that's not including the 5,000 student devices that Russell pushed it to. Which is also nice, so that kind of beefs up our numbers a little bit. So we have over 7,700 downloads of the app so far, and that's just in 3 weeks alone. And it's really nice to have it on the student devices as well, just because there are resources, there are calendars, and I'll show you that in just a second. And so how that breaks down, that's about 2,100 downloads from the Apple App Store and about 600 from the Google Play Store. So no matter whether you have an iPhone or an Android device, you can get access to this app. So with that said, I'll just refer you to the screen. I'll kind of walk you through just a quick demo. So at the onset of opening the app, you'll actually be able to say whether you want notifications or not, which is important, so we'll allow that. But the next part of the app setup is actually being able to choose which schools you're actually interested in. So that was really important to us because if you only have a student in Arlington High School, you don't really want notifications from the other schools, right? So you can choose specifically which schools you're interested in right at the onset of opening that app. And so we'll just choose from the list real quick, and we'll just choose the high school, for example. All right, then you're finished. And so this is what it looks like right now. That picture usually isn't pixelated. It's just pixelated right now. So the main feature is you see the top stories. And so this brings in the schools that you're interested in. So from their Facebook feeds, their social media feeds like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but also news from their website. So that's just kind of the highlight of the app right there. And then just working through, we'll go to the calendar. So one of the things in the strategic plan as well was to make a district-wide calendar where families can get and see all the events across the district. And so with this app, that actually serves as that function. So you can choose again which schools you're interested in, and we see right now, just because we chose that we were interested in the high school from the onset, that there is a volleyball game tonight versus Houston that we're currently missing because it was at 5:30. So you can just scroll through and you can see the different events that are happening across the district, and you can also choose from the other schools. So I want the Arlington Middle School as well, and then that's going to populate it with all the middle school events as well. So that calendar feature is really, really cool, and I'm able to see the analytics as far as what people are looking at. The number one thing people are looking at so far in the 3 weeks are the notifications that come across, and the second thing is the calendar. So already families are using that calendar feature. Just when you go back home, you have other icons that you can select from. So Power School, that's how parents can log in and see the grades of their students. So that's really important that we have that on the home screen. Photos, lunch menus, that's another top hit that people are looking at. The district newsletter, I'll open that real quick just so you can take a view. And so when you first open the app, it kind of takes a little while to get everything downloaded. But once that happens the first time, it's pretty quick after the fact. And so there's the newsletter that you see. And so, also in the strategic plan, we wanted to launch a district-wide newsletter. So far, we've had about 8 editions from last year. And so far, that newsletter has had over 40,000 views. So about 5,000 views per edition. So that's another thing that you can see from the app as well. And then one of the really things I really like are the resources folder. And so resources for not only parents, but also students. So iPad tutorials, how to log in, and that sort of thing. And then we're constantly adding resources for staff members, but also parents in the community as well. And with that, let me see if there's anything else. Just some more features. Athletics. We're going to log that into Max Preps, and so you'll be able to see scores and upcoming different sporting events, parent Schoology, and then our social media accounts. And that's kind of a quick demo of the app. I hope you've been able to download it and explore that. But that's all I have, unless you have any specific questions for me about the app or anything else that we're doing communication-wise.
That's great.
Great job.
Yeah, when we talked about this, when we were looking at developing the strategic plan, this is one of the things that we're consistently looking to improve is internal and external communication from our schools. And I think we're the only district around that has something of this nature that's getting that real time, has those calendars out for every school so it's accessible, as well as the district newsletter that we're also populating in many different media places for folks to see what's going on within our district. So real proud of this work and what I think the value that we're going to get from both our students, our parents, as well as our employees.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Mr.
Nice
Chairman.
work.
And with that, that concludes my report.
Okay, Ms. Gore, okay on time? Are you good? Okay. Financial report?
Good evening. For the financial report, you'll have the May 2019 financial report and the June 2019 preliminary financial report. For May 2019, general fund had revenues of $39.4 million, expenditures of $35.4 million. The nutrition fund had revenues of $1,164,433 and expenditures of $972,057. Federal and discretionary grants had revenues and expenditures of $2,157,134. CIP fund had revenues of $1,862,172 and expenditures of $1,470,853. For the June 2019 preliminary financial report, and this isn't finalized because we have until the end of August to receive our revenue from the Shelby County government. We had general fund revenues of $43.1 million, expenditures of $41.6 million. Nutrition fund revenues $1,246,205, expenditures of $1,080,951. Federal and discretionary grants revenues and expenditures of $2,441,740. CIP fund revenues $2,122,785 and expenditures of the same. For the Interlocal Health Benefits Plan Asset Trust Report, as of June 2019, we had year-to-date revenues of $39.3 million, year-to-date expenses of 41.1 million, a beginning balance of 1.8 million, and an ending balance of 78,000. And that concludes the financial reports.
You okay? Okay, I'm checked with her every time, make sure we're not getting ahead of her, whatever she's doing. Okay, is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The what?
Oh,
Is there a TLN report?
Oh, I'm sorry, me back up. Sorry, Dr. Viox.
It's all good.
I skipped you and I apologize. TNL report.
It's okay. So I'm not sure. We had a little bit of an email chain about getting whatever you wanted on that agenda. General Counsel's had some feedback from, I believe, the superintendent and some of the executive staff about things that they were interested in. But what I was trying to get across is that we have a TSBA Board of Directors meeting on the 27th of September where we vote on those items that go before the delegate assembly. And so if we don't have those things to them before that meeting, they will not get voted on. There is a way to add it on the floor. It's difficult, and it's difficult to build interest during that delegate assembly to get TSBA to lobby those things. Certainly, anything that we want to lobby as a board individually can be done at a later date, but if we want it on TLN's docket and having them lobby things for us, we've got to have them before that 27th of September meeting. I hope that was clear to everybody. If not, anybody have any questions about any of that stuff? So we'll continue to shore this thing up. It will by no means be a complete document by September 27th, but certainly before the legislative breakfast and before we'll have all of our stuff finished and printed and out for distribution. Just if there's things that are really important to us, we've got to have those before that that September 27th board meeting. So to get them on there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Get ready. Okay, here we go again on there. There's our motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the items on the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the consent agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Superintendent Mason will lead us through the miscellaneous budget amendments and the business recommended action items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will turn this over to Ms. Roberts. We are looking at Resolution 2019-14. Ms. Roberts?
For Resolution 2019-14, during the months of May and June, we received additional revenue of $844,000 from Shelby County government for CIP projects. In addition to the fund balance that we had, that left a remaining fund balance of $1.1 million for construction projects. So this resolution is proposing to utilize those funds for the completion of the Arlington Middle School gym and the Arlington High School indoor practice facility.
You've heard the motion. The superintendent's recommendation is a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is Resolution 2019-15. Ms. Roberts?
Resolution 2019-15 are our monthly budget transfers. This includes the general fund transfers, additional revenue that was received for the federal grants from carryover funds through the state when we finalized our June 2019 report, as well as transfers for our discretionary grant. And then we also received some additional revenue in the nutrition fund for the purchase of food service equipment.
Okay. You heard the recommendation, superintendent's recommendation, a motion to approve.
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item, 9A, is Resolution 2019-16. This is a resolution to amend the 2019-2020 school fee schedule. You will see that these are our, we are starting field trips. School is in session, so field trips have begun. And so you will see this resolution includes 4 field trips from the high school with the fee attached to each of the trips that will be taken by the student groups. So with that, it's my recommendation to approve Resolution 2019-16.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation, asking for your approval. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item. Next item is step raises.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the 2019-2020 budget to include step raises for all eligible employees retroactive to the beginning of the fiscal year.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Made motion second. Discussion.
So is this, like, in addition to what we've just done, is that what this is a motion for?
In our budget, we had the salary schedule for the step raises, and that's what I'm talking about, the 18 steps that the teachers have. I know they do have a 2% raise, but yes, this would be an addition to make sure that they get their step raise this year.
Any further discussion?
What do we know what that dollar amount looks like? Anybody?
Ms. Roberts?
Yes, the cost of the step increases would be approximately $283,000 in total. That will be spread over the general fund, federal funds, and nutrition fund.
Okay, and do we know how many of the teachers that will affect?
32% of the teachers will be ineligible, if we're discussing teachers only. If we're looking at all employees, 45% of them will be ineligible. So a total of 204 out of 456 employees would be ineligible for step increases.
I'm sorry, one more time, 204 out of how many?
456.
Any further discussion on this item?
Yeah, I'd just like us not rush through this, because this is a big budget item from where we talked about before. One of the things I think the superintendent, in the beginning, whenever she recommended the 2% increase, was looking at the budget. Is that correct, Superintendent?
Yes.
Okay, and so is this something that we're trying to do on a regular basis, where we do both a step increase and a merit increase? I guess that's my question. I know in past times we've done it when we've had the money to do it, and times that we haven't been able to do it, we haven't been able to do it. And I'm just trying to kind of get a gauge into this.
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the recommendation because we also were incurring a large amount of insurance costs. We had a 16% increase in insurance. Over the last 2 years, the district paid 70, it was a 70-30 split, 70% for the district paid on behalf of the employees, 30% employees paid. This year, due to the raise, the district is paying 72% and the employees is paying 28%. So we reduced the share cost for the employees. And looking at doing the 2% versus the step, and looking through the step calendar, and I think each of you have it before you. I did go to each of the schools as well and talk to them. And those of you that came and met with me individually, I went through that. You can see when you go through step from step that each step has a different percentage. So it creates an inequity if you just give steps, which is why the recommendation that I had was the 2%. And so in saying that, and that's what the board approved, at this point, if the board approves to go do a step increase, it's more than just doing that amendment. We gotta know where that money's coming from, because currently we have a balanced budget. So the board would have to decide where that money's coming from.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
So, Mr. Chairman, just to sort of put this in context, if we're comparing the other, well, and it bears saying that really no district in the state of Tennessee can pay a teacher what they're really worth. That's the first thing. It's not possible. On average, Ms. Roberts, can you tell us what the salaries take as far as, say, a school board budget in a year?
For, are you asking specifically what?
Just a percentage-ish about what it costs to pay salaries in the district.
So salaries for the district is roughly,
I think statewide, it's around 70 to
it's
75%.
71% of our total budget. So when you look across all budgets excluding capital funds, we have a total of $52.1 million budget. Of that 52.1 million, 37.1 million represents salaries and benefits. So that's about 71% of our budget.
Okay, and so, and just for the public's edification, are we reimbursed at an equitable rate, say compared to Collierville, by the state per student? Are we higher, lower?
We do receive the lowest amount per student compared to the other municipal school districts in Shelby County.
Okay, so we get the lowest reimbursement, but I'm looking at the kind of pay schedule for some of the other districts and looking at, even though Germantown has more steps than we do, we still pay our teachers higher than all of them. And we're dead even with Collierville, and we beat Millington. We beat Lakeland. We beat most of Bartlett. So these were figures, I think, before we even did the 2% this year. Is that correct?
For the 18-19 scheduled salary ranking for the state, Arlington, for looking at the whole salary schedule, Arlington was number 4 in the state of Tennessee. When you look at the bachelor's degrees minimum for the 18-19 scheduled salaries, Arlington was number 2 in the state.
As far as pay?
As far as pay, yes.
And we do beat, I am correct that we beat the Germantown pay scales despite them having 19 steps, and we're tied with Collierville. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Despite getting the lowest reimbursement. Is that also correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, as I said, I mean, we can't pay our teachers what they're worth. They'd make an inordinate amount of money. I have a kid in the system. I don't know what we'd do without the employees and the teachers that we have. But I have a concern about how this board is doing business, right? Like, I've been here since day one, second one, minute one. I've been here. We've never done anything like this before. And it concerns me that we had individual budget meetings. We had a joint work session that was open to public budget meetings, and then we had a voting session on this budget. And this is the first time we're hearing about it well into the season. And it just surprises me. We've never done anything like that before. I'm just kind of curious, like, what's going on.
I'd like to
guess.
ask a question. Have we not paid the teachers their step every year except one year?
We, for, including what we've done this year, 6 years. 2 years, they've had both a step and a cost of living raise. The others, they've had a step. Each year that we do the cost of living raise is substantially more than step raises, and it's equitable for each employee. So all 6 years they've had a raise. What that looks like looks differently.
Did we not have the salary schedule with the steps in the budget when we first saw it this year? Do we not see this every year in the budget? I mean, this is nothing new to me. It's
not.
always there, and the teachers expect it. I worked for Shelby County School for 35 years, and every year I got the step raise through 18. My only complaint is that we can't give them more than 18 years, because after 18, you're still working for probably 15 or 20 more years, and you don't ever get anything other than like the cost of living. So this is not new. I mean, we've done this every year, Dale.
Agreed, but we've never done it well into it's always done before.
I know, we give it
Just-
to them on the front because it was in the budget. I mean, this is just what they expect. They are expecting this raise. I would be expecting it if I was a teacher and I was on one of these steps.
So we gave the raise, we just gave the cost of living raise, which was equitable, like everybody got that, right?
Everybody got
Everybody
that.
got that, and a step, and you chose that, if I'm understanding correctly, because everybody got that versus a
Right.
step raise.
Yeah, I made that recommendation because that, in looking at the increase in insurance, if we would have just done the step raise, which we've done 4 out of the 6 years, we would have done, take out this year, 3 out of the 5 years. We just did a step raise. I think Ms. Roberts, you said that just doing a step raise to those eligible is what, 283,000?
Correct.
So that's what it would have, that's what would have been the money that the district would have paid for raises. Because when you look, and if you look in front of you, Ms. Fletcher, you'll see, depending upon the step, it tells you what percentage of raise an employee gets.
Right.
And so there's one step that an employee would only get, for example, 0.9%. So when we were looking at that and looking at the funds in our budget to balance, the recommendation I made that would be more equitable for employees was a 2% across the board, which cost the district $1.1 million. So it was a little over $800,000 more than just what a step raise would be. So therefore, the employees got more money than they would have with just a step. The 2 years prior to this, we were able to do both step and a cost of living due to the increase in insurance. We just did not have the funds in the budget without cutting some other items. So if the board chooses to do that, there's just something you're gonna have to cut that's already been approved at this juncture.
Do we not have any surplus money that we could get the step raise from that?
Ms. Roberts?
So, we do have fund balance. And so what we've historically used fund balance for is not for recurring costs. And so a step increase would be a recurring cost. We typically use our fund balance to pay for our capital projects. So from, whereas we don't have to have the town to increase property tax rates in order to fund those. So from 15 to 19, we used 17.5 million of our fund balance to pay for capital projects. In our capital spending plan for FY 20 to 23, we have 12.5 million projected to spend. With this current year, we're utilizing 5.4 million for capital projects.
So teachers were expecting the step raise this year, is that correct? And we had some people to call and ask for why didn't they get the step raise?
No, I did not get any calls. Ms. Kennedy received 4 calls asking what step they were on, or asking, one of the emails was a teacher had received their master's degree and wanted to know, would they have to start at 0, or would they go on the same raise or same step that they were as a teacher? And so those were the questions that we received at the office. I don't know what calls you may have received as a board member.
Well, I would suggest that we give them the step raise this year, and then if we're not gonna give it to them next year, just say, we're not gonna give you the step anymore. And then if I was on a step raise, I would be looking for another school system that would honor the step raise. You know, I mean, you expect it, you got it, Ms. Williams got it, I got it, it was just something that they always did. If we're not gonna do it, we just need to take it out and say, hey, after this year, we're not giving it anymore.
Ms. Fletcher, that's up to the board, just like the initial budget that was approved. We presented a budget and the board approved it, and that was included in the budget. So
But this
obviously, we'll
was in the
do
budget, on page, in the budget, the step salary was in there.
a copy of the salary schedule
Was in
may have
this-
been, but not
in the
what
budget.
was, it wasn't in the proposed budget.
Right, you had proposed the cost of living for everyone.
That's correct.
And so if we do this, then we're going to give about half our teachers some and about half our teachers none.
This is the way it's always worked.
I know, but we gave something to
This is
everybody.
nothing different. I know.
But we gave
We
something to
did that.
everybody.
But we should honor this and then given something, whatever was left to everybody. This, to me, to the teachers comes first. And the only thing I see wrong with the step raise after on year 19, if you can teach from 19 to 30 years or longer, there's not a step in there.
Right.
So, but the people who are 1 through 18 are expecting it, and I think they deserve it, they should get it. And if we're not gonna give it to them this year and then tell them next year, hey, we're not gonna do steps anymore.
Well, also, just, Mr. Chairman, the thing is that, when we're talking about people who are no longer on the step raises, those people did get those raises in the past. Now, we're saying these people, we're not gonna give it to them this year, when we really did not notify them in advance. And they've planned on these and budgeted for this raise for this school year, and yet they did not receive it. So, I just think it's the right thing to do.
But they did receive a raise.
I
They
didn't
did
say a
rec-
raise, I said the step
The
raise
step.
plus the 2%.
But for some of these, it was more than what their step would have been. And for people at the top, they still got, people that have been here for 18 years, they still got a raise and wouldn't have gotten one. This is a added, what we did was a benefit for everyone.
And what we
Everybody
did the
got
past
it.
2 years is we gave them 2% raise plus the step raise for the past 2 years. And yet, this year, they did not realize they were not getting those step raises.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Lamar,
Yes.
I do have just one procedural thing. Let me just first say, I don't have a dog in this hunt. I don't have, whatever, this is the board's will. But I do want to tell you this. It's important that the board resolves the issue of where the money's coming from before you vote, just because of this. Because if you're able to change it within the major categories, the board can effectuate that change. If you're getting the money from outside one of the major categories, transferring it from outside the major category, you have to go before the town of Arlington. So I just don't want the board thinking they voted to do something that's gonna take effect immediately when something else has to happen. I just don't, and I don't want.
I think we're aware of that, yeah.
So I think you need to decide where, is it coming from outside a major category or within?
Well, Mr. Chair, one last thing for you, Mr. Robert. Is it sound financial strategy to pull recurring costs out of a fund balance? As a general rule?
It is not recommended, and I would add that, to add on to what Ms. Speakman said about whether it's within a major category or without a major category, that is for general fund. We also have federal funds and discretionary grants that will be impacted, that will require those grant managers to not only come before this board to have those budgets approved, go to the town for those budgets to be approved, but they'll also need the state's approval. Allocations that have been made to the schools will have to be reduced to the tune of about $11,000 for those employees that are within those federal and discretionary grants. So I do want the board to be clear that the funding has to cover the general fund, the discretionary grants, and the federal funded employees as well.
So one, giving you suggestions is that if whatever the board decides to do, how you might accomplish what you want to accomplish, is if you do want to do this, one suggestion might be is that tonight you could say, we'd like to bring a budget amendment next month that is clear as to where the money's going to come from. You could direct the superintendent to make recommendations for where the money's going to come from. But again, it just has to be, somebody's got to resolve the issue of, as Ms. Roberts said, within the category or without the major category.
So does that need to be in a motion that, because originally all we did was table that, we made a motion to discuss this and.
I think there are a number of ways that if the majority of the board wants to effectuate this change, to pass this, I think there are a number of ways that you can do it if you decide you want to do that. But you just can't leave it open-ended.
Right.
That it's going to happen without knowing, if you've got to go to the town or not,
Right.
and where the money's going to come from.
Any further discussion? Well, we're going to vote on the motion as stated. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benjamin?
No.
Ms. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Dr. Biop?
So to be clear, what is specifically are we voting for? That's what I'm trying to find out.
What's on the table is step raises. 2019-20 step raises.
But general counsel just said we can't just pass that without effectuating where it comes from. Is that correct? Am I wrong about that?
That's right, because there is also a provision in the law that says that if you spend more money than you have, it's a misdemeanor offense for the board. So I'm trying to keep you from being in trouble, so that you can, I mean, there's a way to do this. If you want to do it, there's a way to do it. There's a way to get the money where it needs to be. And that's, I mean, that's fine. Like, I don't care how it happens, I promise you.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that, you know, when you walk out of here, that employees kind of know when to expect it, if y'all are going to vote for it or not.
Okay, we're always voting, so go ahead and vote, sir.
I don't know what I'm voting for, so I'm gonna abstain. I have no idea, because what she just said was that the motion that's on the table doesn't work, so
Okay.
I don't know what else to do at this point. So,
Ms. Williams?
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
okay, call the vote, please.
3 yes, 1 nay, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, wait, we might need to go back
Wait.
and find out.
Just say
the
we've
money.
got to figure this out before we leave here today?
Yeah.
Okay,
You can,
So
you
I'd
can
like-
still, so now that you voted on that, okay, so you've said that you want to give a step increase. Now, you know, in that it's the same topic, you
I'd
can,
like to make a motion that Superintendent Mason and Ms. Roberts work on the budget, and we'll take it back before the board, and if necessary, whatever we have to do to find the money to pay these teachers. I know this, I'm still talking, but wait, and then next year, if we're not gonna do STEP, let them know on day one.
folks, I have another motion. Do you have the motion down, Ms. Gore?
Barbara, 1.
So you
Need a
need to
second?
Need a second.
Second.
Second? Okay, any discussion on this motion? All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Uh,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Benjamin?
Aye.
Ms. Fletcher?
uh,
Mr. Lamar?
Aye.
Dr. Biop?
That's an aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
State the vote, please.
All ayes.
Motion carries 5-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move, we adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We've adjourned.
Mr. Hill, instead of the gavel. Would you like a water?
Huh?